Hello everyone. This is a video idea I got from someone else. It was a suggestion. Always like to say that just so everyone knows that if you do suggest something, I will follow through with it. So this video is about freckles and the science behind them and how to treat them safely. And I will discuss a little bit of how you can treat them with cosmetics. However, I'm not going to be specific about that because if you want to learn more about medical or cosmetic treatments, you should talk to a healthcare professional before doing that. But this is just for educational purposes. So, what if I told you freckles aren't actually random, but tiny, highly regulated biochemical events happening in your skin? And more importantly, can you really get rid of them? Or are most treatments just cosmetic illusions? Let's break down the biology, the pharmacology, and what actually works. Freckles, medically called ephyllides, are small, localized areas of increased pigmentation. They're not caused by more pigment-producing cells, called melanocytes, but by increased activity of those cells. So the melanocytes would be about right here, and the sun would increase the amount of melanin produced by these cells, which would darken the cells along the way, as you can see in this image. At the molecular level, UV radiation activates signaling pathways inside melanocytes, especially cyclic AMP signaling pathway, upregulation of the transcription factor MITF. This leads to increased production of melanin via enzymes like tyrosinase. The melanin is then transferred to surrounding keratinocytes, creating visible freckles. So freckles are essentially UV-induced amplification of melanin production, not structural skin changes. UV exposure, especially UVB, causes DNA stress in skin cells. This activates p53, which is a protein found in the cell, which increases production of alpha MSH, which stands for melanocyte stimulating hormone. This hormone binds to the MC1R receptor, further activating cyclic AMP signaling and subsequently melanin synthesis. That's why freckles darken in the summer and fade in the winter. They're dynamic, not permanent lesions. Now let's talk about what actually modulates this biology. Tyrosinase inhibitors, these directly reduce melanin synthesis by inhibiting tyrosinases, as we talked about earlier, the mechanism in which it works. Retinoids, which are cellular turnover modulators, and they work by increasing epidermal turnover, dispersing melanin granules, enhancing penetration of other drugs or cosmetics. And there's also anti-inflammatory and signaling modulators. These induce melanosome transfer from melanocytes to keratinocytes, reduce melanosome transfer from melanocytes to keratinocytes. And again, you could get into specific drugs in these different classes. However, I'm not going to get into that because if you want to talk about how you can use these drugs to treat your freckles, you should talk with a healthcare provider. So there's also cosmetics. Cosmetics don't always change biology, but some get surprisingly close, like sunscreen, which UV exposure drives freckles, so blocking it with sunscreen prevents the pigmentation. Brightening agents, these are weaker than pharmaceuticals but safer for daily use. And chemical peels, which are used by under the supervision of a healthcare provider to accelerate exfoliation and reduce pigment visibility over time. So you cannot permanently remove freckles genetically. Laser treatments may fade them, but UV exposure often brings them back. DIY or harsh bleaching can damage the skin barrier and worsen pigmentation. Freckles are a regulated biological response, not a defect. Freckles actually represent a protective mechanism where melanin absorbs UV radiation, reduces DNA damage. So when you treat freckles, you're modifying a defensive pathway, not just a cosmetic feature. And that's why you should really talk to a healthcare provider before doing this so you can modulate your freckles in a healthy way. So some take home is that freckles sit at the intersection of genetics, UV biology, cellular signaling, and pharmacology. And while we can modulate their appearance, the goal should always be to control the pathway, not fight your biology blindly. And I just wanted to show the difference between freckles and sunspots because some people get confused. Sunspots are more permanent and they need to be treated when they go away, where freckles are smaller and usually go away on their own with time. So I hope this was informative and have a wonderful day.